Good evening, sir. You talk about your efforts in the area of public policy. I know that one thing that troubles a challenge to our urban centers are about our people who returning from prison, as far as employment opportunities. I know we have a few state reps in the room and some few federal people, legislators as well, that's in the room as well. In the area of public policy, what are some of the things that you guys are like, on a national level, the Urban League is lobbying for as far as prison recidivism, as far as bringing people back and who are coming back from prison into the urban centers as far as creating opportunities for them, as far as employment area?
It's a very important question, and it affects all of us, because when people go to prison and they come back, and we don't have a reentry strategy plan for them, the high probability is they're going to what? Repeat, become recidivists. This is an issue where traditional conservatives and traditional liberals can find common ground. And the prisoner reentry bill passed by the Congress a year ago, 2 years ago, was a bipartisan effort. But here's the problem. It's a very small pilot bill with maybe $20 million. It's nowhere meets the need. It nowhere meets what is needed in an effort to do that. So we're continuing to advocate for a strategy, comprehensive strategy, to help people re-enter after they've been in jail. One of the things we have to recognize is that a vast, vast percentage of those that end up in prison, particularly in state prisons, never finish high school. Never finish high school. Therefore, they come back and they have no marketable skills. So some of what needs to happen while they are in prison. And that is a stronger commitment so that people who are, when they can enhance their educational attainment levels and they can confront some of the challenges that they face. Secondly, and related to that, we have got to rethink the idea that nonviolent offenders have to be subject to mandatory minimums and long prison sentences. And we have to look for alternatives, because the rate of increase in the number of people incarcerated is not sustainable. To bring it close to home, what we do at the Urban League in our job training programs, in fact, the largest program we have faced, about 40% of the participants in the program have a prior criminal record. And so on the ground, we're serving people, but the problem is the scale of what we do is nowhere near what needs to be done. Nowhere near what needs to be done. And the nation, states and cities and communities need to track this. And I bet and wonder if anyone in this room could tell me, I bet there is someone, could tell me how many people return each year from prison to the city of Cleveland. I can tell you the national number is 600 to 700,000 people returning to communities across the nation. And it's significant, and people go back to what they know. They go back to where they know. They go back to where they have family and friends, as you know. So we are doing some things through our, but I'd like to do more. We'd like to do more. And I'd like to see a more comprehensive strategy. That small bill that Danny Davis and Sam Brownback and a few others got through Congress took 5 years to get movement on something so simple as a pilot initiative to give money to states and counties and cities to develop reentry initiatives. So thanks for your question.
Mr. Morial, you come as a unique resource from my point of view. Because you finished 2 terms as a mayor of New Orleans with a distinguished record and a 70% approval rating. That's got to be something you're very proud of. But it's also true that Louisiana in general and New Orleans in particular has grappled since at least the days of Huey Long with a reputation for public corruption. And if you could navigate those waters and push back against the forces that I'm sure were straining to take advantage of the city, you're in a position to comment on how you fight a culture of corruption, which is an issue for us in lots of places. I was actually thinking of Afghanistan, but my neighbor's chuckle reminds me we don't have to go that far to find the same problem. And it is, I think, peculiar to urban settings. Not peculiar, maybe, except the scale can be dramatized by having a whole city at risk. I would love to hear whatever perspective you can offer on this.
It's funny because not funny, but it's a fact that you see the problem of public corruption all over the place. Usually, when we see it, is when people are being busted. I mean, so if they weren't being busted, because so much of this goes on in secret. Let me tell you what I think some root problems are. And this is my view after serving in public office. I think it costs too much to run for public office, period. And it disincentivizes, it incentivizes the chase for money to get elected. I bet the people running for county offices now buy television commercials. I mean, it was unheard of back 30 years ago for anyone other than top-level people to spend a lot of money. I think that one of the fundamental issues is it costs too much to run for public office. You watch these United States Senate races, and you'll see people spending $30, $40, $50 million to get elected to a $191,000 job. So it either becomes a millionaire's club or it becomes a club for the person who can raise a whole lot of money. I think that's a fundamental thing. The other thing at the state and local level I think is a little bit of a problem is the concept of a part-time elected official. And a lot of people disagree with me on this. You're a part-time elected official and you got a job. You got a construction company, you got a law firm, you got an engineering firm, you got a corner grocery store. So theoretically you say, boy, it's nice to have citizen legislators. In reality, there's 1,000 conflicts inherent in them pursuing their business and trying to be a public official, an elected official. And you see at the state and local levels, you see, I don't know what, your legislators are part-time, your city councilmen theoretically are they probably pay part-time salary. And the only people that can do it full-time on a part-time salary is someone with their own money, a successful business. I think that those are some of the root issues related to it, the cost of running for public office. Who benefits when a lot of money is spent on political campaigns? Who benefits? Television stations, consultants, printers, used to be the U.S. Post Office. But, it's an enterprise. And then it causes people, when they run, to raise money and go to people. Well, I can tell you, you go to some people and you can't promise a thing for a campaign contribution, but boy, that sure doesn't stop people from asking. Going before people and say, well, you vote for X, will you support Y if we give you money? There's some inherent issues in our democracy that we're afraid to confront. I think a lot of it involves the cost of running. In the parliament in the United Kingdom, someone was telling me, people might spend $25,000 because the party runs the campaign. It's sort of a big combined operation. So people don't spend a lot of individual money. Well, members of Congress now, except in some districts, you're going to see very few people that can run a race for Congress for less than $500,000, maybe $1 million.